Okay, hello guys, welcome. I needed to do this video separately because if one I did about steps in getting a job as a health worker in Saudi wasn't going to carry all the necessary information you need, and that's why I just talked about the steps alone. If you've not watched that, you could watch it later on. But here I talk about some peculiar information and very necessary information you need if you're interested in working in Saudi Arabia. And some of these requirements are similar to other countries in the Middle East, so it will help you too. So even if you are not interested in Saudi Arabia, you want to go to Middle Eastern countries like the UAE, United Arab Emirates, or Oman, Kuwait, Qatar, all these places, it's about a similar thing. And the first thing you need to know is that you need to have at least 2 years experience post housemanship as a health worker. If you're less than 2 years, you wouldn't even be qualified enough. And that means that if you are hoping to do your housemanship in Saudi Arabia as an IMG, no, this is the requirement. Except you school in Saudi Arabia and you're a citizen, then you'll be eligible for that. Then the second point to note is that you are automatically disqualified to even get a job if you have diseases like HIV, hepatitis B or C. You don't even bother applying. You wouldn't get the job. The third thing to note is that you must not learn Arabic to get a job here. I, and together with a lot of my colleagues, Nigerian colleagues, even other foreigners too, we didn't learn Arabic before we came here. I can speak a little Arabic now. At least I know I see most of my patients unassisted. And that's because I work in a primary healthcare center. For those that work in the general hospitals, secondary and tertiary healthcare centers, there are other people that will interpret for you, so they will help you. You don't really need to learn Arabic. But if you can speak Arabic, it's another advantage because it will help you settle down easily compared to if you don't learn the Arabic. So even if you don't know Arabic, it does not in any way disqualify you. I want you to know some of the benefits too of working in Saudi Arabia and the Middle East. They have some particular benefits you don't really get in other places. This is for those working in the Ministry of Health. For the private hospitals, it might be a bit different, but the benefits are somewhat the same too. Even if you are working in a private hospital or with the Ministry of Health, the benefits are somewhat the same. You could negotiate this kind of things. The first benefit is you are entitled to accommodation, and if you work in a hospital facility or healthcare facility that has accommodation, as a doctor you are entitled to accommodation. Even as a nurse too, you are entitled to accommodation. But then as singles, yes, you would. But if you're a family person, you would likely get accommodation outside the hospital facilities. And if you get them outside, you have accommodation allowance. There's an amount of money they pay yearly to cover for your accommodation. That is for doctors usually. For nurses, one thing you have to understand is that the singles are entitled to accommodation. Whereas if you're a family person, I'll talk more on that later. They don't cover for it. I'll talk more on that later. Then the next thing to it is that you are also entitled to transportation. But note that both the accommodation and transportation, if you stay within the hospital facilities, you don't get them. But it could be a good financial move too. Because if you're staying somewhere distant, you still need to pay transportation to come. And then you also have to be paying for rent and other utilities, which is something you don't need when you're staying in the hospital facilities, because the facilities are also furnished. So you have electronics, you have furniture, you have basic things you need. It will save you from buying a lot of things if you're staying outside compared to if you're staying in the facility. You also get a one-time furniture allowance, payment of furniture allowance for you to buy furnitures. Isn't that great? Then another thing is that you are entitled to 36 days annual leave. 36 days. That's much more compared to what you get in the UK. And in addition to that, sometimes they might require you to work during public holidays. And if you work on such public holidays, you're compensated for them. You get these days to add to your vacation. So most times, following a regular annual calendar, you might get 9 extra days because of some public holidays you stayed back to work. And that means that in a year, we get up to 45 days annual holiday, and it's paid, like it's paid. That's great, isn't it? Then another benefit is that during your vacation, you are entitled to paid transportation. So whichever part of the world you are, the Ministry of Health pays for your transportation to and fro with your family members. I'm talking about the family members later again. So yes, you get that to and fro. That's tight. Even when I got a job here, my transportation to Saudi Arabia was being paid by the government. Then for families and relatives, as a doctor, you could bring your family. They're being covered. They will come here and stay as residents. So far as you're here and you have your job, they will stay here together with you as residents. But for nurses, you can only bring your family members with visitors visa only. They cannot come here and stay as residents. They only come on visitors visa, unfortunately. And that explains why most times bring your family over as a nurse would cost you way more, because your relatives are coming as visitors. They will just stay there and they will be depending on you. And that would be very, very burdensome on you. And that's one of the challenges. So it's not really a smart move for you, if you're not a doctor, to come and bring your family here, especially if they are working over in your country. It's better they stay there and work, and then you can go and be visiting them once in a while too. They could come over and visit you, but you understand, they can't stay in the facility if you're staying in the hospital facility. So that's one of the dicey things. You would have to be visiting them most of the time. And the kind of visa you get here is that they don't allow your relative to work. I don't know, maybe before they allowed your family members to work, especially maybe your spouse, but now I know my wife didn't, the visa she came in does not make her eligible to work at all. So my wife is a full-time housewife, and she's using it to take care of our baby for now. It's something that we had agreed on before she came in, but let's see what the future brings for us. Then another thing to note is that the job security is not too assured. It's something you should really know, because when you come over here, part of the agreement is that when a Saudi national is eligible to take your job, you would hand over the job at any time. It's part of it too, which we understand. They are watching out for themselves, which is okay. If someone is qualified and comes, they can take your job number and go, but you will still be compensated if that happens. So the job security is a bit dicey thing that makes a lot of people to be scared, because you might spend a lot of money to come here and eventually find out that after a few months or a few years, your job is being taken. It's still something, but it is what it is. I understand. So these are some of the things you have to weigh properly before coming to. And as for the work schedules, it depends on where you're working. I work in a primary healthcare center, and PHCs usually have more organized work schedule. Know that weekdays are from Sundays to Thursdays, weekends are Fridays and Saturdays. So work starts Sundays. I work from Sundays to Thursdays. However, my PHC is a bit peculiar. We now work every day of the week. It happens in some PHCs. So they work every time, and as such, sometimes I might work weekends. But any day I'm working weekends, I get an extra day off. Unlike if I'm working just weekdays, I have my 2 weekends off. But if I'm working during the weekend, any day in the weekend, I get 3 days within the week that I wouldn't come to work, which is quite decent. And the work hours is not usually more than 40 hours a week. So the work schedule is pretty decent. Even if you work for longer hours, like may I work 8 hours, But for some that might work 12 hours, they are being compensated. They take some days off to work. So it's quite okay. What do you think? Then we talk about the salary. For the salary, it depends on which school you graduated from or you qualified from and the number of years you've spent practicing. If you come from developing countries, your pay is somewhat lesser than if you schooled and graduated from a developed country. Then the number of years, there's extra money for every year, that every extra year you've spent practicing too. So someone that has been qualified for 5 years does not receive the same amount as someone that has been qualified for 7 years or so. And you know that doctors brought their divided into the residents, who are the doctors that are not yet consultants. And among the consultants, they're broadly divided into two again: the specialist and the consultant. The specialist is a consultant that has been a consultant for less than 5 years, whilst the consultant is from 5 years and above, and their pay is different. So that's it. There's no straight amount. It depends on where you graduated from, number of years, and your position or your qualification or your level. Let's use that one as a medical doctor. But the pay is decent. And the other thing is when you get paid, that's a dicey one because every region is quite peculiar. And the thing is, if you're able to come over, there are some procedures you have to still continue. You would come here and do a blood test. Despite the fact that you do a blood test in a recognized hospital, they will tell you the hospital you do the blood test in your country before coming. When you come over again, you're going to repeat the test, and it's usually the serology tests, the HIV hepatitis test too. You do an HS X-ray too. You want to make sure you're fine before you come here and become a liability. So after you do the test, you would have to get an ICAMA, which is a resident permit. And after that, you go through some processes, app share. And after you've gotten your app share, you open a bank account. The earlier you get the bank account, the more likely you're going to be paid. Most times it takes you over a month. And if you don't have a bank account, you cannot be paid. And that's why most people will get paid during the second month, sometimes even third month. But when you're being paid everything in bulk. I luckily opened my own on time and I was paid the following month. I'm one of the rare people that got my salary the following month, and it really helped me. So because of that, you would need to come here with small money that you'll be able to take care of yourself before the time comes. Although the Nigerian community is quite supportive. So if you're able to hang out with your community, someone that's from your place that you know, be able to speak with the person, interact with the person, they can support you, they can help you with some finances that will help you before you get your money. Some of my friends helped me with money before I settled down. And because of that too, that's why many family people prefer to come here first before they invite their family to come over. It's usually a bit difficult for you initially. So you need to settle down first before your family joins you, or else it will be a struggle. My family joined me about 3 months after I came. And I can't imagine if they were around with me during that first few months. It would have been a struggle, really huge struggle, especially with an infant. That's not pretty at all. So I think that's basically some of the infos you need. And if there's anything I've left out, let me know in the comment section. I hope this really helps you. Thank you. I hope you also enjoyed this. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you love this and want to remain here, you can subscribe and turn on the bell notification so you don't miss my new videos. Thank you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.